I got my hands on the newest mouse and keyboard adapter on the market. It's called the AIMZENIX Monster, and it's quite satisfying. I must say, they really stepped up their game with this adapter. I previously reviewed one of their other products, a smaller mouse and keyboard adapter, around 20 bucks, which was pretty solid for its price. They reached out to me quite recently and wanted to collaborate again. Now, let's dive into this review of their latest product, Monster. I'll show you a monster, big boy. Starting at a price point of $100, you can find this on Amazon or their website. If you discovered it on Amazon, they offer a coupon that provides either a 30 or 20% discount. With that said, let's move on to the unboxing of the monster. Once you get the monster in the mail, open the box. There's a sleeve covering the box. Remove it to review the actual product box. Inside the box, you find the adapter itself, and on the right side, there is a accessory box. To be honest, I wasn't expecting this adapter to be so massive when I opened the box. In the accessory box, you also find 3 different styles of cables. Underneath the cardboard, you discover the starter guide / manual and an Ethernet cord. You need the Ethernet cord to connect it to the PS5. For other consoles, you only need to plug it into a controller. Now, let's take a step back and focus on the adapter itself. I wanted to explain the purpose of each port, so when you go to set up your adapter, you won't be confused. One of the noted features is that it has a pair of legs, which you can either fold out or fold in. I'm not quite sure why they went with this design, but it's pretty cool. On the underside of the adapter, there's an LED ring. And yes, it has RGB lighting. If you switch to the front side, you find the AIMZENIX logo and a button. And there's a speaker for some reason on this adapter. On the left side of the adapter, you find one of the USB ports for your keyboard or mouse, as well as a 2.5mm jack. On the right side, you'll find another USB port for your mouse or keyboard, and the controller port as well, which is located farther back. They also labeled the USB ports with little icons telling you what each one does. On the back side of the adapter, you'll find the Ethernet port. To the right of that, there's a USB Type-C port to connect to the controller. And to the left, there's an extra USB Type-C port to connect a wall outlet or some sort of adapter if you have a keyboard or mouse that requires more power. Now, let's move on to the setup. First, you want to plug in your mouse and keyboard, then plug in the controller. After you've done that, go ahead and plug the adapter into the console. It should automatically recognize the console you're using and make a noise, somewhat like a chime. And it's a little annoying, but I mean, I got used to it after over a little bit of use. The chime just lets you know it recognizes the console. The LED on the front side of the button will light up the color of your console. For example, if you have a Nintendo Switch, it's red. If you have an Xbox, it's green, and for a PlayStation, it's blue. Once you have done that, head over to the App Store. This is where we're going to download the app. You can either scan the QR code from the manual or the starter guide, or simply just search for the app. Once you have downloaded it, you'll be greeted with this page. Click on Add, and it should look for your device. Once it finds it, it will automatically update, and after it's done updating, you can move on to the next screen, where you can choose your controller and set up your settings to your liking. Now, let's move on to how to customize your settings to your liking. I'm going to switch over to me recording this live, so you can see this in real time, how to control your settings, and I'll explain to you step by step of how to change your settings and your sensitivity in games. Most likely, I am going to be using Apex Legends as an example for this part of the video. Now that we have the app downloaded, it will take you to this screen, showing you the different consoles this thing does support: Switch, PS3, Xbox Series S and X, PC, PS4, Xbox, Xbox One, and the Xbox 360. Now, these correlate to whatever controller you have plugged in. So case in point, I have a standard Xbox controller plugged in to the adapter. So for me to set it up, I'm going to hit the Xbox, or it says X1. And then it'll show this screen telling you to make sure you have everything plugged into the right ports. And we do, everything is plugged into the right port. So we're going to move on to the next step, and that is hitting OK. And it'll bring us to this screen with our configures. Now, or configurations, I should say. This is our configurations. Now, you can edit them by hitting the three little bars or little squares and hit edit or replace or delete. So for this one, we're going to create a new layout. So I'm going to hit add configuration. There's a couple on here, but Apex is not. CSGO is on here. What? I haven't really dug into this part of the app because it makes no sense. These configurations, most of them suck and are generally made for PC. So you can get the aim assist, but I don't get the point of having CSGO. But let's get back into the adding. So we're gonna hit plus here. We're gonna add the name of the game, so I'm just gonna put AP for Apex. Oh, yes, it did make configurations, it just didn't add it. That's so weird. Not quite sure why it did that. The first time I tried using it, it did work perfectly fine, adding a configuration. But okay, so once you make it, you have to search for it. So now this is my custom configuration. I'm gonna click on it, and it brings us up to this menu. So we're going to be on mouse. So this is your mouse sensitivity up top. You can either lower it or increase it or decrease it. So case in point, drop it to 43. Now my mouse movement is super slow. Max it out to 100. Now my mouse movement is insane. So we're going to leave it at 75 at default. And right below that, that is the smoothness. To have no smoothness, it should be kind of juddery. Yeah, it's direct input. And then maxing out the smoothness is you have completely smooths the movement. That's pretty self-explanatory. Aim boost. Now, aim boost I haven't really touched around with. I found out it really doesn't do much. And then below that, that is your dead zone and your curve of what your input is. So we can have the input maxed out, so it's just like when you move it, it kind of peaks, but we're going to leave it kind of in the center. And then we move over to the ABS. This is set up to mimic whatever your mouse settings are. Of course, you can change it and have it, have you do your own thing with the ABS or ADS. Your sensitivity and your ping. Now, the ping just basically adds delay into your mouse. And then your mouse sensitivity. Now, we're just going to keep it as they're all the same. Over here is your... And then when we click on rocker, this will change the movement speed of your input. It doesn't really do much as well. Like, it's more fine tuning. This is like, to really get into it, you should adjust this stuff a lot. And then moving on to our next one, that is the keybinds. This is where you change your keybinds. You can either swap them, you could change them. So like Y is for F and stuff like that. And you can switch it around and change it how you like it. And that's it. This is a very basic app. It is still an app, so it gives you more than like the base adapters will give you, but it still gives you an app that has some customization. I gotta say the Zim app works phenomenal, and I think it's probably one of the better showcases of an app design that works very well. So that is how you set it up. Now, for games like Apex, you really have to spend some time to set up to your liking. You really have to mess around. Now, it took me a bit to get mine under control and how I wanted it, but overall, I think this thing works really well with setting up. So like what I said about the smoothness, if I max it out, super fluent. It's kind of sticky almost, but super fluent. And then if I put it in the center, it's a lot faster, but it's less smooth. And I mean, it's really just adjusting. It's all about how much you want to spend time, how much time you want to spend adjusting your settings. And if you spend some good time on this, you get it to your liking, it's great. Well, let's get back into the review and move on to the next part of the video. Now that everything is correctly set up and to your liking, let's get into the review of this adapter. I want to specifically talk about a couple of games that I focused on with this adapter. Right off the bat, I want to mention that you might get detected by mousetrap, regardless of what features this adapter has. So if you plan on playing Rainbow Six Siege, this might not be the ideal adapter for that game. I should also note that I'm not up to date with all the methods of getting around mousetrap, so there might be a workaround that I'm unaware of, but that being said, I still want to try it out on Rainbow Six Siege, and it worked very well. I was actually quite surprised. I played around in the firing range, and I managed to play 1 or 2 casual games before mousetrap detected me, but it felt really good. I adjusted my sensitivity within minutes of using the app, and everything seemed to work quite well. However, I didn't play enough to fully understand this adapter with Rainbow Six Siege. I usually try to play more than 15 matches, but due to mousetrap, I couldn't do that. But you might be able to get past a little bit more because there might be a workaround that I don't know of. Let's move on to the next game, which is Apex Legends. Apex Legends felt very responsive with this mouse and keyboard adapter. After spending about a half an hour or so adjusting my sensitivity, I played a few games which didn't go very well. It showed me how useful this adapter could be with this game, and there was no notice of input delay, which can be an issue with some mouse and keyboard adapters. This one seemed to perform very well. I think it could be a good adapter for Apex Legends, though I wish it had a bit more fine-tuning options like the ZIM or any other mouse and keyboard adapters that have a very in-depth app. Otherwise, I believe it works quite well with Apex, but keep in mind, it still will take a bit of fine-tuning to get your sensitivity settings perfect to your liking. Overall, this device performs decently. Moving on to our next game, Insurgency Sandstorm, which I love to use because it feels great with mouse and keyboard, especially since it's a PC port rather than a direct console made game. Specifically with Insurgency Sandstorms, it felt insanely good with this adapter. I must say this adapter is fantastic. I played several games with my friends and I experienced no sort of delay or lag. It felt quite smooth. The one thing I did have to spend a lot of time adjusting was the aim down sight sensitivity. It was quite uneven. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it would work too well, and it just took me a lot to get the sensitivity down. But overall, it's a pretty decent adapter. That being said, let's move on to Overwatch. Now, I didn't spend a whole lot of time with Overwatch, just enough to really feel the game and feel this adapter with it. After a couple of online matches with this adapter, I can say it works quite well with Overwatch. Now, I knew I had an issue with some sort of input lag with the ZIM, or some issue I had with my last adapter review where it just caused my aim to be unprecise. But with this adapter, the aim assist and using a mouse and keyboard on a game that's not designed for it, it felt great. And regardless, it's pretty good with Overwatch. But I'm going to leave it there and move on to my overall opinion. I don't want to sit here and just praise this adapter because honestly, it's as good as the ZIM or even better. In some scenarios, the ZIM is a pretty good mouse and keyboard adapter, but it's a good one to use as a reference. But overall, I found it to be pretty decent. It definitely has the potential to be a very good mouse and keyboard adapter. The app works well and the device is very well built. I don't think it's going to break over time. I do have one specific complaint, and that is the noise that the adapter makes. It is quite annoying, and I couldn't really figure out how to shut it off, but after a couple of hours messing around with the settings while I was tuning it, I did eventually turn it off in the settings. The adapter works very well, and I chose these 4 games as a good showcase for the mouse and keyboard adapter. I found out this adapter is compatible with every keyboard I own. Unlike some of the previous adapters that I have owned, worked with a select few. Additionally, it has a good audio port. The audio quality is quite decent. The build quality of the product is also quite satisfying. The stand is a bit weird, but I did get used to it. It definitely showcases the RGB lights on the underneath of the adapter. Overall, this device is pretty cool, and I definitely do think it is worth the $100. If you can find it at a lower price, I would definitely recommend grabbing it, but it's definitely worth the price point. And again, if you are able to get your hands on it, I highly recommend grabbing it, because overall, it's a pretty decent adapter, and honestly, don't get the GameSir, get this one instead. And I'm going to leave it there. If you guys have any sort of questions, feel free to leave a comment or join my Discord. Everyone's welcome, and have a good one.